UFC Mexico Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. I'm here to give you my full card picks and predictions as well as my breakdown for every single fight. Before we get started, we'll just quickly recap last week's predictions, which was UFC London, Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. We ended up going 7-6 on the card after going 10-3 in a great week the week prior. We kind of slipped a little bit with 7-6. I mean, we started off not bad at all. Prelims, we went 5-2, hitting a few dogs in Padilla and Loughran. And I mean, that McParkin bet, I mean, absolutely destroyed me, the fact that we lost that. But regardless, there were a few other pluses there, like Kavanaugh was a great bet by a TKO decision. But also, I did have Felipe Dos Santos plus 3.5. I was going to say Chris Duncan. CLD minus 3.5 as well. Now, main card kind of slipped a little bit, not going to lie. I mean, out of everything, I just hate two of my reads, which was obviously the main event, Leon Edwards, and also Molly McCann. Aside from that, I can't be too mad at Cháirez, to be honest, or Vucinic. We also hit another dog in Kevin Holland. And then Oberg by decision or the over as well. I mean, a lot of these little prop bets that I have, including the under also for Vucinic and Duncan, they all hit. So I'm going to be looking to do a lot of those as well. Just overall, just an annoying card. After Parkin, I won't say it was a robbery, but I think he should have won the fight. After that happened, I mean, it was pretty much downhill from there. It really, that kind of screwed me. I wish I put money on Padilla also, but had Parkin won, I would have been up a few units and I would have just stopped and not chased. So regardless, another 13 fight card. I mean, this is 39 fights in 3 weeks for the UFC. I mean, we haven't seen 39 fights in the PFL since like June maybe of last year. So if even that. So we're getting a ton of fights here and I'm not mad. This is kind of a banger card. I mean, it's a little top heavy, I'm not going to lie, but there's some solid fights, in the prelims. So we'll get to those really quick as well. I'm not going to spend too much time on some of these fights, to be honest. But like I said, another 13 fight card. I have some props in here too. I have a few underdogs. We'll get into it. We'll get into all of it. But like I said, let's just quickly get started on this card. First fight, Markel Mederos versus Austin Hubbard. Austin Hubbard 16-8, 4-6 in the UFC. Obviously, he did spend some time outside of the UFC. Went back to Ultimate Fighter, fighting a Contender Series alum, who's 1-0 in the UFC. Decision win against Quinones. 2 canceled bouts after that. 9-1. His fight on Contender Series ended up winning by first round, and then it was a solid decision win against Quinones. He did get a takedown against him, but he ended up getting more control. I remember seeing that he did end up getting a lot more control, and he was just landing a lot more. Now Austin Hubbard obviously has the experience. Now, does he have the skill to beat someone like Mederos? Obviously, this could always be the Contender Series curse. Once you get into the UFC, that first fight you just absolutely fold because you just don't understand what it takes to win a UFC fight against a proven vet. Is Austin Hubbard a proven veteran? I mean, I feel like I kind of need to discredit him a little bit because he came back after not having the best first UFC stint. Overall, I think it's going to be a pretty boring fight. I'm not going to lie to you. Not something I'm going to be looking to bet on at all. In terms of the odds, Mederos is a minus 200. I mean, in terms of the striking, if it stays standing, I do lean Mederos just off of output and power. Austin Hubbard's really not throwing anything crazy at you, so I lean Mederos by decision. Like I said, I'm not going to bet on this fight. This is one of those like dog or pass moments, and do I really want to trust Austin Hubbard? Not really. So give me Markel Mederos to win by decision. Now, next fight of the night, Jamal Emmers versus Gabriel Miranda. Now, Jamal Emmers does have the 3-inch reach advantage and the 2-inch leg reach advantage. He is an inch shorter than Gabriel Miranda. We know, Gabriel Miranda 17-7, and I think maybe 17 of those wins all have come by sub. 16 of those wins have come by sub. He's been knocked out 3 times, and he's never won a decision in his life. He's 1-2 in the UFC, losing to 2 Frenchmen, and then he beat Shane Young by RNC. And we have Jamal Emmers, who's 35. He's coming up there in age as well. Actually, how old is Miranda? He's not that young. He's also 35. He's lost in just about every which way. He's 3-4 in the UFC, just recently losing to Nate Landwehr in the first round, where he, was having some type of success, just Landwehr outlanded him, caught him, and smoked him. When it comes to the feet, he's not the best striker, but against someone like Gabriel Miranda, he will be the best striker, or the better striker. This is a great bounce back spot for Emmers after losing to Landwehr. Honestly, I think he outlands him. I think he can catch him. Miranda is very tricky on the ground. I don't know if Emmers is going to want to do that, despite him also having some submission wins. So I'm going to lean Jamal Emmers here by TKO or decision. Really leaning towards TKO right now because Miranda has been smoked, but he's also never won a decision, so even if it gets to that point in elevation, he might get tired. So Jamal Emmers minus 340, double chance is probably going to be around that minus 230 range. Not a bad parlay piece, him by TKO or decision. That's probably how he ends up winning regardless. But like I said, give me Jamal Emmers to win by TKO or decision. Now, next fight, we have Rafa Garcia versus Vince Pichel. Now, Rafa is 3 inches shorter, has a 2-inch reach disadvantage and a 3.5-inch leg reach disadvantage. But regardless, he's kind of a tank. Rafa Garcia 16-4, 4-4 in the UFC. He did lose in his last fight to Grant Dawson. He's just a little shaky here and there. I mean, lost his early fights in 2021, then was on a 2-fight win streak, lost to Drakkar Close, and then 2-fight win streak again, and then Grant Dawson, where he ultimately got smoked. There's levels to this, right? Then we have Vince, who's 7-4, obviously. He's also 42 at this very moment. Hasn't won a fight since 2021. Hasn't had that many fights since 2021. He was on a nice little win streak for a while. Ended up fighting a wrestler. And then ended up fighting another wrestler, to be honest, in Bonfim. He's not really a striker or whatever, a grappler. He's fighting someone, Rafa Garcia, that's probably going to want to stand. He has the power to stand as well. The odds are so disgusting, though. Obviously, Grant Dawson did land those takedowns. Vince isn't going to try to land those takedowns. He's going to try to strike. He has the advantages in terms of reach advantage, so he's going to try to do that, and I think he gets kind of clipped there. So in terms of the odds, Rafa Garcia is a minus 460. That is so disgusting. I will not be betting on that fight unless it is him minus 3.5 or by sub, because I do think that he might be able to land a takedown, or it might be a type of club and sub situation where he'll have him hurt and then he just gets on him and just chokes him out. So those are the only two ways. I would not put this money line anywhere near a parlay. This is insane. But I do still lean Garcia to win. So give me Rafa Garcia to win by submission. Now, next fight, we have Lupe Godinez versus Julia Polastri. They're the same height. Lupe has a 2.5-inch reach disadvantage, and they have the same leg reach. Now, Lupe obviously is a fan favorite. They're in Mexico. She's not the greatest fighter, though, to be honest. Has no TKOs, but has a big blockhead herself, so she's never been knocked out. Also, 7-5 in the UFC. She's dropped 2 straight, but the competition's different, you know. Like, face of Ricci, that was really close. Ricci's not even that special herself, and that's coming from someone who loves that woman with all my heart. Aside from that, Virna, obviously there's levels. Virna was just absolutely dominating her. And then Mackenzie Dern pretty much did the same. It was a little closer. It was pick'em. Mackenzie Dern was the underdog in that fight, but just outclassed a little bit. Mackenzie Dern just put it on her a little bit as well. So she's fighting someone in Polastri who's 13-4, 1-1 in the UFC. Was her last fight a split against Corey McKenna? She was supposed to win that fight regardless, but you're going in a close decision regardless with Corey McKenna. I'm not impressed. Lost to Knudsen, who is not in the UFC anymore, right? Or is she? I forgot which one of these girls left really early in her career. It's kind of weird, but this is all going to depend on if Lupe's going to wrestle or not, because she's fallen in love with her hands and she needs to wrestle to win this fight, because Polastri she could stand with her. 88 strikes landed on McKenna, only 64 against Knudsen, but I mean 84 in her Contender Series fight, and her first Contender Series fight was against JJ, where she also did land 65 despite losing by unanimous decision and getting 4 takedowns on her. So if Lupe wants to win this fight, she has to wrestle. She has the reach disadvantage. That jab's not going to be working as much as she likes to. She doesn't have the power to do much, but I think she might be able to get the wrestling going. I'm terrified of this fight in terms of betting. I don't think Lupe should be this close of a favorite, or this wide of a favorite, I'm sorry. Because when you look at these odds, I mean, Lupe is a minus 245 on a 2-fight losing streak against better striker. Is Virna a better striker? I wouldn't even call her a better striker. I'm sorry. I would say against better grapplers. She's going to be looking to make a statement here. Is she going to be able to against Polastri? I hope so, because I still do lean her. Does anyone get finished here? Probably not. Like I said, Lupi hasn't never knocked anyone out or has ever been knocked out. So I'm still going to go Lupi here, but it's going to be a scary fight. But give me Lupi Godinez to win by decision. Next fight, C-Rod, Christian Rodríguez versus Melquizael Costa. Now we know Costa just fought like 2 weeks ago. Not really, but like he fought like a month ago, but we'll get to him. C-Rod has a 3-inch height disadvantage, but the half-inch reach advantage, but the 4-inch, I mean, it's like a roller coaster, a 4-inch leg reach disadvantage. Now we have Costa, like I said, who just fought against Fili in February, a month and a week from when he fights again, where he just landed a beautiful guillotine. I mean, Fili is so dumb the way he went into that. He like almost asked him to choke him. But aside from that, Costa is 3-2 in the UFC. Now he's won 2 in a row. He did get absolutely smoked by Steve Garcia. C-Rod's a different type of fighter, obviously. He has been back and forth with different weight classes, but he is 5-2 in the UFC. Just winning his last fight against Bashi, who is an undefeated prospect. He's a prospect killer. When it comes to non-prospects, it's a little different. His last 4 wins have come by beating undefeated fighters. He's fighting a vet in Costa who's seen, the best and the worst of the UFC at this point. But I still do lean C-Rod here. The odds are a bit scary, I'm not going to lie. On FanDuel, he is minus 156. The odds are kind of going up against him right now and in Costa's favor. I still do lean him in terms of the wrestling. On the feet, it could be a little tricky. We saw Costa was kind of letting it off against Fili, but he was also getting tagged. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I just don't really think Costa has it in him to win this fight. It's really a tricky fight to predict, to be honest. I think Costa can win the first round, and then there's a potential live spot for C-Rod, but aside from that, I'm not going to look too deep into it. But give me Christian Rodríguez to win by TKO or decision. Now, next fight, we have José Daniel Medina versus Ateba Gautier. Now, Medina is 4 inches shorter, 6.5-inch reach disadvantage, and a 4-inch leg reach disadvantage. People are going on the Medina side because of elevation, because they feel like Contender Series homie is just going to go full force, full throttle early in the fight, and then he's just going to gas out and Medina is going to do something. One thing about Medina, though, is that he might be tough, but he's not good. So let's just look at the odds really quick. Minus 500 for homie over here, for Ateba. Odds are even going against him, too, which is hilarious. Would I bet minus 500? Absolutely not. This is a red flag fight for me. Not really going to look into this too much. I don't think Medina's that good to begin with. People are just counting on him to do enough. Or they're counting on him to not die. That's really what it is. He's not that great of a striker, not that great of anything, to be honest. I think he gets smoked here, regardless of how tough he is. I know, whatever. He's not going to get finished. I'm gonna go Gautier by TKO or submission. I think he's going to be able to get it done early, and if not, it's fine because I'm not even going to bet on this fight. This fight is worthless to me, especially for the odds itself. And I'll be honest, Medina shouldn't be a plus 340. I think he should be a plus 600 because he's not a good fighter. They're kind of counting on it because of elevation, and they're counting their homie out. That's what it is. I don't make bets like that. I think that's insane. But regardless, give me Gautier to win by TKO or submission. Now, Édgar Cháirez versus CJ Vergara. Édgar Cháirez is 1 inch taller, 3 inches in reach, and 3 inches leg reach advantage. Now, I respect Cháirez because he's been in the parlay of the week before, and he respects coin. But this is going to be a very interesting fight against CJ Vergara, who is 3-4 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, one against Almabayev and then Temirov, where he got absolutely smoked in the first round. Just up and down completely. I mean, his fights, he's one of those that's just never going to really, he's kind of going to plateau. And we have Édgar Cháirez, who's 11-6. Never been knocked out. 2 losses by sub, but 7 wins by sub, and then 4 losses by decision. He's 1-2 in the UFC and 1 no contest. He did lose to Joshua Van in his last fight, where Joshua Van just outclassed him. But I mean, Joshua Van, 3 takedowns, 118 strikes landed on him. Just masterclass. How many times Joshua Van landed 118 out of 200 strikes. 59% significant strike percentage. Insane, honestly. That second round was absolutely brutal. Now, CJ Vergara, obviously, he doesn't have the hands that Joshua Van might, possess. But he'll throw, and it really depends on the matchup. Like, I see this kind of in the Vinicius Salvador type of matchup, where he's not facing a wrestler, he's facing a grappler who's going to want to take this to the ground, and he's not going to want to stand with CJ, honestly. It's going to be a very close 1-1 looking fight. Probably someone's probably going to get smoked, whether CJ gets choked out or somehow, some way, he's able to get a finish, because he's not going to sub him. But listen, everyone's chin can get cracked at some point. I'm going to go with someone who, two losses by sub is so gross. I'm not going to lie, against someone like Cháirez, but it's fine. He has 7 TKO wins under his belt. I'm going to go with CJ Vergara here as the dog. He is plus 240. I just don't think Édgar Cháirez should be a minus 330. That's kind of insane. I probably might bet money line here. We'll see. It's a pretty heavy dog. I'm definitely not going to bet a prop on it, honestly, because he could very well win by decision against someone like Cháirez. Cháirez could also just not do enough. Look for sub attempts that aren't there, and then Vergara just holds position, and then he ends up winning. That could 100% happen. So, I'm not going to think too much of that. I'm going to go CJ Vergara here, honestly. And I'm going to go, in terms of the prop, I'm going to take a little long shot here. I'm going to go by TKO, knockout or TKO. I think you can find that shot and then ultimately finish the fight. You never know. I mean, listen, Javed Basharat just got clipped a few weeks ago. Anyone could get smoked, honestly. Is it Javed? It is him. So, like I said, first dog of the night, give me CJ Vergara. I can't believe that's the first dog. And that's the end of the prelims. So, now, main card time, we have Lazy Boy Ronaldo Rodríguez versus Kelvin Borjas. Lazy Boy is an inch taller, which is surprising because he's so small. He does have the 2.5-inch reach disadvantage, but he does have the 1.5-inch leg reach advantage. He's going to be using those leg kicks significantly. Borjas does not like those leg kicks at all, but one thing about Borjas is that he likes to stand, and he's a dog. He really is a dog. He gave Joshua Van a run for his money in that fight a few years ago. I know it says 156, but listen, that first round was, a little scary. Look, Kelvin Borjas, landed more. He threw more. Everything else was a little closer. Obviously, the second and the third, Joshua Van just off of output won as well. But I mean, Borjas was throwing, and against someone like Lazy Boy, I love Lazy Boy too. He's extremely hittable. He's 2-1. I will consider contender series. Does have a sub and the unanimous decision against Ode Osborne, which was close. I mean, that fight was nasty if you bet on him, to be honest. Now, people are counting Borjas out, obviously, because he is 1-2 or 0-2 in the UFC. If you don't count contender series, that's up to you. He did get smoked in his last fight against Costa. Listen, Lazy Boy is not that good. At these odds, Lazy Boy is minus 174. I'm not liking that at all. I don't think he should. I think it should be a pick'em, to be honest. If it was a pick'em, I might lean Lazy Boy, but just striking itself, I mean, his striking isn't that good. He throws, but Kelvin Borjas does as well. And I just think that Borjas has the more powerful shot if it lands. So I'm going to go Kelvin Borjas. I'm going back-to-back dogs here. I don't think anyone gets smoked here necessarily, but I think he'll do enough to win that fight. So give me Kelvin Borjas to win this by decision. Next fight of the night, we have David Martínez versus Saimon Oliveira. Are they going to show stats here? They will. Now, both super short dudes, 5'5". He's an inch taller. Has the 4.5-inch reach disadvantage, and then the half-inch leg reach disadvantage. These are crazy shorts that they have on the website. David Martínez is 11-1 with 9 knockouts, 2 decisions, 1 loss by decision. Obviously, he's a contender series alum as well. Previous fights, the good thing about him is that he's gone to the 4th round. So that's a good thing to see. It's not like he's just TKOing people in the first round. He has done that already. Saimon Oliveira is 18-5 with 11 sub wins. He's 0-2 in the UFC, losing to Daniel Marcos and then Tony Gravely. He won a split contender series a few years ago. I mean, the odds are going to tell you exactly what people think or how the bookmakers think this is going to go. David Martínez, like I said, unanimous decision in Dana White Contender Series. He outstruck him by 33 strikes. I mean, clean win. Oliveira has not landed more than 47 strikes in a fight. So he's going to get smoked, most likely. He's going to get smoked most. He's going to be looking for shots. He's going to get tired. He might even get something. I mean, 25% takedown accuracy is disgusting. He's landing one maybe. Now, the odds are kind of crazy. Minus 390 for David Martínez. I would not bet on that. That is so gross. But I still lean him to win in this fight in Mexico. He's gonna be able to get it done, especially if he starts stuffing those takedowns in elevation. Oliveira's not going to have it in him to win this fight. So give me David Martínez to win by knockout or TKO. Now, next fight, we have Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. Now, Raul Rosas is 2 inches taller, 3-inch reach disadvantage, and a 4-inch leg reach advantage, which is going to be huge. He's going to be looking for those kicks immediately, especially because he has that reach disadvantage with his arms. Now, we know plenty about Raul Rosas. He is 4-1 in the UFC. He's won 3 straight, and we've seen everything from him at this point. We've seen a loss, we've seen a win by knockout TKO, we've seen 2 submission wins from him, and we've seen a decision win from him. So we know he has everything in his arsenal to win a UFC fight, depending on the skill level as well. We have Vince Morales, who's 16-9. He's lost 6 decisions. He's 3-7 in the UFC. He's dropped 2 straight, one to Lapalus. Lapalus, crazy arm reach advantage against anyone, popping that jab, and then Elijah Smith in February, literally not that long ago either. But I think people are kind of like viewing this as if Vince Morales has a real shot at this because of his fight against Elijah Smith. But I just think that I think Rosas is just a little better than him. I think he'll be able to land those takedowns as well. Vince Morales only has a 60% takedown defense. Elijah Smith took him down twice. Miles Johns took him down once. Jonathan Martínez took him down twice. This is all within his last 4 fights. Or UFC fights, I should say, obviously, spanning between a few years. But there's a skill disparity here. I think Raul Rosas Jr. will be able to take him down, and I think eventually he'll be able to finish this fight. Now, in terms of the odds, Raul Rosas is a minus 400. I mean, Jesus Christ, these odds are crazy. But the way I would bet this fight is him to win by submission. Maybe double chance him by sub decision, but you're not going to get the odds you want on that. Probably minus 190, maybe, if I were to guess. Now that we know he can knock people out, it is also Terrence Mitchell that he knocked out, just to be fair. But regardless, him by sub is probably going to be like plus 160 to plus 200, I would assume, which is very nice, especially because it's an elevation. You never know, he might get gassed out as well, looking just to win by points, which I wouldn't blame him either. But regardless, give me Raul Rosas Jr. to win by submission. Now, next fight, we have Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Now, Pyfer is significantly taller than him, 3.5-inch reach advantage and a 1.5-inch leg reach advantage. Joe Pyfer is obviously like a big dog in here. I mean, not big dog, he's a big favorite, but he's looking to make a statement against Kelvin Gastelum. Now, Gastelum, he's just not who he is anymore. He's 19-9. He's 13-9 in the UFC. He just won against D-Rod, but let's be real, sloppy. He's won 2 of his last 3, which is, I guess, pretty solid. But before that, he lost 5 of his last 6. Obviously, level of competition completely different. Now he's fighting someone like Joe Pyfer, who's 13-3. He's 4-1 in the UFC. He's only won 1, which was a monster punch to Marc Andre. But he was kind of fraud tested a little bit by Hermanson in a very close, I wouldn't even call it fraud check, but um, in a very close fight, main event fight against Hermanson, who just was able to just out grapple him, stay very level headed by a vet. Now, does Gastelum have what it takes to do that as well? At this point, I don't think so, especially because it's a 3-rounder, not a 5-rounder. It's going to be interesting to see how Gastelum comes into this fight and what type of game plan he has against someone like Joe Pyfer, who is a monster. You know, he's going to be massive in there compared to Gastelum. Gastelum's going to be trying to wrestle him. I mean, more power to him. Joe Pyfer trains with Sean Brady, and clearly we just saw what Sean Brady did. So if this stays on the feet, Joe Pyfer is going to have the power. He's going to have everything that you need to win this fight. He has the reach advantage, the leg reach advantage. I mean, if there's one lock to me in this fight, it's Joe Pyfer, or in this card. I mean, Joe Pyfer right now is minus 330. He was minus 590, minus 330. I'm probably going to lock something in with Joe Pyfer today that I'll post on the Discord. I really like the spot for Joe Pyfer, honestly. I know it's disgusting odds, but probably will parlay this with something else as well. I really do like him. Gastelum is a good fighter, but he is not who he was before. I think he can get out-wrestled here as well. I think he's going to get outstruck. I think he can get smoked, and he's been dropped. He's been dropped. So there's a chance. There's a little chance that he might get TKO'd. But I don't know. Regardless of that, give me Joe Pyfer to win by TKO or decision. You never know. I know Gastelum, I know. But give me Joe Pyfer to win by TKO or decision. You never know. Now, next fight, we have Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. Now, the reason why I don't want to spend too much time on this fight is because I'll be so honest with you, I don't know how this is going to go. Just a few things. This is my second red flag fight of the card. I really don't know how this is going to go. No matter how much I've watched most of their fights. I can't watch all of Drew Dober's fights within my time span, but I lean the under. I think someone can get smoked. I think Manuel Torres, maybe rounds 1-2 TKO sub or something like that. Drew Dober late 2-3 TKO if Manuel Torres gets a little gassed. This is a scary fight for the both of them. I think, listen, Drew Dober has a blockhead, but he's been hurt before. He's been TKO'd. Manuel Torres has the reach advantage. He's taller, has a leg reach advantage. He's going to be in his own space. Could he find that shot against Drew Dober? Maybe. Could Drew Dober pressure him on the cage and just start swinging and trying to find that shot? Absolutely as well. Now, does Drew Dober try to wrestle someone like Manuel Torres? He should. He should. And then if he does, he's going to get caught in a gilly. But then what if Manuel Torres just, they're sweaty and he slips and he just gives up position? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't trust either of them because they lack IQ. They're just trying to get that finish quickly, and I can't trust fighters like that, which is why this is a red flag fight for me. I lean the under, like I said, but I'm going to lean the favorite, the one who's at home here, minus 115. Well, let's see what FanDuel says. Manuel Torres, minus 118 on FanDuel. Was an underdog at some point. I do, because of anatomy, and he's just taller, a little lankier. I think that'll play in his favor a little bit. Now, if Drew Dober, like I said, wrestles, it might be fucking over for me. So, regardless, pretty close fight. I hate that it's such a close in terms of odds because it entices me to bet on it, but I just don't like either of these spots for them. So, I'm going to go Manuel Torres to win by TKO or submission. It's a little bit of a cop-out because I think that he can win either way. I don't think this goes to decision. That would be kind of insane. So I wouldn't be surprised, though, if his TKO submission was a decent odds considering he's minus 118. Maybe plus 240, I would assume, hopefully. Drew Dober has been finished before. He's not invincible. I know people make it out to seem like he's invincible. He's not invincible. He's been subbed 4 times and TKO'd 3 times. So 7 decisions. He's lost 3 of his last 4. But, I mean, look who he's losing to. So, Marcano, contender. Gene Silva, future contender. Manuel Torres. We'll see. Manuel Torres was absolutely smoked against Baumundez in his last fight. And then just first-round finishes everywhere else. So, very scary for someone in Mexico. In elevation. But regardless, give me the hometown favorite. Give me Manuel Torres to win by TKO or submission. Now, main event. Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. Now, Brandon Moreno is only an inch shorter, but has the 2-inch reach advantage, and they have the same leg reach advantage in terms of anatomy. Very close. Brandon Moreno, like I said, 2 inches in reach. That jab is going to be jabbing. We've seen Steve Erceg hit before, and I will say, I would just like to point out, we did bet on Cháirez against Steve Erceg. A big underdog. I was kind of insane, but it makes sense. He was just coming back from layoff. So, but now we have this fight where I feel like Steve Erceg really does have a chance, and I think it's going to be very close. I mean, in terms of the striking, we know that Steve Erceg can get hit. He kind of relies on being the taller fighter that's able to move out, but he's only an inch taller, and he has the reach disadvantage. Like, Brandon Moreno's constantly popping that jab. You're not going to smoke Brandon Moreno unless he gets in too close. That's where Steve Erceg can land a nice little left hook, quick left hook, and those things can just gain Moreno's respect enough for Moreno not to throw as much as he should in a fight like this, because just off of output, he can win this fight. If he's constantly throwing and kicking, this is not a Brandon Royval fight where Brandon Royval is just the taller, skinnier version of Brandon Moreno. Erceg's a lot more reserved. He might carry a little bit more power in him, but he's a lot more reserved, a lot more technical standing. Now, I'm not saying that to make it seem like he's better than Brandon Royval. No, everything's matchup based. I think Brandon Royval's proved that his matchup style fares well with someone like Moreno. And then we saw what Moreno just did to Albazi. I mean, Albazi also came back from, a little time off, but still absolutely not even close. Steve Erceg is on a 2-fight skid now. One losing for the belt, and then Cháirez. Very big fight for him. Very big fight to see where he's at. It's going to be a close fight, and I think it's going to be 2-2 going into the third. I'm so sorry. I really do think that it's going to be a close fight. Closer than people think, and probably closer than what the odds say. Minus 240 for Brandon Moreno was minus 188. Every day it's going down. Every day. From when I drop this video, it might be minus 260 or 280. I'm going to lean with Brandon Moreno here. I don't know if I want to bet on that line. That line is kind of scary. I like Erceg. I just don't know if he's going to be able to do enough here. Moreno is a dog, obviously. It's hard. It's so hard. And I'm not leaning him because he's in Mexico. I just think that matchup-wise, I think the striking is just going to be a little bit more from him. He's just going to do a little bit more than Erceg, who's just a little more technical. Now, Erceg can steal rounds if he lands that shot. Because Moreno's not going to be wrestling like the way Pantoja was. He's not going to have to deal with the scrambles and get tired like that. He's going to have more time to focus on his striking and his combinations and how he's going to plan to hit Moreno. Moreno obviously is, like I said, more of output. So, going to be an interesting battle. The one other thing I'd like to say about this, if I were to put a prop, would probably be Steve Erceg plus 5.5 spread on DraftKings, which means that he can lose, but it's likely going to be like a 48-47 decision or something like that. I think that it's going to be a close fight, and I think it can go either way, and I think that's probably the bet I'm going to make, because if Erceg is a plus 195 on DraftKings, it means that spread is going to be plus 5.5 minus 115 or something, and I'm laying the juice on that. I still like Brandon Moreno here. I'm going to go with the dog at home, just because I feel like he's just going to do a little more in that 5th round, just to edge it out just a little bit. But don't be surprised if Steve Erceg even wins this fight. I'm so serious. I was in constant battle with this, to be honest. I think Steve Erceg is a phenomenal fighter, and I think he should have won against Pantoja, but he just made a costly mistake, and it smoked him. Matchup-wise, that felt like a better fight, though, than this. So, unfortunately, same way I felt with Cháirez. This is why we went KKF and that. The champ is just a better matchup for him, and he couldn't capitalize, and now he's in the gulag. So, give me Brandon Moreno to win by decision. And that caps off UFC Mexico, Moreno versus Erceg, 13 fights, just a few dogs. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do a recap because I want people to follow and obviously see everything throughout the video. But obviously, please give this a like, a sub. We're at 400 subs now, which I greatly appreciate. Like I said before, we get to 500. I'm giving away money to a lot of different people. So make sure you tell your friends. Like I said, follow the new TikTok as well. I'm going to be dropping a lot of things, especially with MLB season, NBA season still coming up. Some other little breakdowns and some other UFC events and other things aside from this. You know that we'll drop a video later this week also with bets, which will recap last week's bets as well. But I love you all. Thank you for listening. Like I said, I greatly appreciate it. If you've been with me since TikTok with the 15K account, or if you're new, I greatly appreciate all of you. I love you all. I'll see you guys later with the bets. Let's keep cashing.